Good morning, all of you. A warm welcome to the third day of the Faculty Development Program. Hope you have enjoyed the last 2 days of the program. Uh, our today's expert already joined. Good morning, sir. This is Utkarsh. We are welcome.
Hi, Tarsh. Good morning.
We are welcoming you for today's session.
Thank you.
Uh, Dear participant, I want to introduce our today's expert, Nitin V. George sir. George sir has received the Bachelor of Technology degree in Electronics and Communication Engineering from University of Kerala, the Master degree from Telemedicine and Signal Processing from National Institute of Technology, Rourkela, and he holds the PhD degree in Electrical Sciences from IIT Bhubaneswar. Currently, he is working as a TUCO Chair Associate Professor in the discipline of Electrical Engineering at the IIT Gandhinagar. He had received the Department of Foreign Affairs and International Trade, Government of Canada, GSEP Fellowship in 2008. He was also granted the Inspire Faculty Award in 2013 and the Indo-Australia Early and Mid-Career Researcher Fellowship in 2017. He is serving as an associate editor for the Journal of Swarm and Evolutionary Computation. His research interests include active noise control and dedicated architectures for digital signal processing. Today, Sir will discuss about the advancement in assistive listening devices. Also, he will focus on few signal processing approaches which are used to assist listening devices and hearing aid. So I welcome you again, sir. Over to you, sir. You can start your session. Your screen.
Okay, sure.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, good morning. So let me start the session. So what we are actually trying to look here is advanced signal processing in assistive listening devices. Okay, so that's our area of interest for the today's session. Okay, so the focus will be on, it will be not very difficult, it will be little bit simple only, but we will see how signal processing is going to have an impact on assistive listening devices and why it is critical to have a signal processing on top of these devices. Okay, so that will be the focus of our session. So what is an assistive listening device, by the way? So assistive listening device is needed because your hearing has been impaired, either due to age or due to some other reason. Your hearing has been impaired and you have a hearing loss. So what is hearing loss? Hearing loss is uh, you have something called a hearing threshold. What is a hearing threshold? What is a hearing threshold? So that is the amplitude above which you will be able to hear a particular sound, and that is a function of frequency. So I have a curve like frequency versus amplitude. I may have a curve like this, suppose. So I can hear only sounds which are above this level for this particular frequency. If the sound level is above that level, then only I will be able to hear. Okay. So when I have hearing loss, what will happen is this curve is going to shift upwards, and it need not shift equally across all frequencies, because you may have a hearing loss only for a particular set of frequencies and you may not have any problem for other set of frequencies. Okay, that is also possible. Understood? So this is called hearing loss, and the easiest solution could be that you have something like an amplifier. Something like an amplifier. It is not an amplifier. Something like an amplifier where I take my input signal. So whatever sound signal is there, you put a microphone. So suppose I put a microphone, get that sound which is coming from outside. You do some sort of a frequency dependent amplification. Okay. So you do some sort of a frequency dependent amplification and then you play it through a loudspeaker. Okay. So you play it through a loudspeaker. So this could be one mechanism by which you can achieve this task. So this could be the crudest form of a hearing aid or an assistive listening device. Clear? So this is the crudest form. This is not the best possible form, but this is the most simplest explanation about what is a hearing aid. Okay, fine. Now we will look into why this is important and how this is going to be very critical. So what is expected is that this is the new term which has come, that hearing loss could be the new diabetes. Why? Because 50% teenagers are expected to have hearing loss in the near future, because you are exposed to higher levels of sound, not only due to environmental sound, but also due to all our sessions happening online and we continuously using a headphone. So you have a higher chance of getting a hearing loss now than any other time before. And another factor which we will have to look at is what is the, okay, suppose you are listening to your music. So you may be listening to your music in a quiet room, or you may be listening to the same music in a railway station. So what will happen? You will automatically put a higher volume when I am listening to music in a railway station, because you have so much of background noise around you. Correct? So your exposure, you are exposed to a higher sound level when your background noise is high. Okay, so you have a higher chance of getting a hearing loss because of that. So your hearing loss is also dependent on what is the background in which you are going to listen to a particular audio signal. Okay, so in the crudest form, this is a hearing aid. So you have microphones. So here you have microphones. You may have one microphone or you may have multiple microphones. So some of the recent devices have multiple microphones. So that's why I have just kept multiple microphones over here. Then you have some signal processing unit. That signal processing unit is going to do some signal processing operation. We will see what is that operation. And then it is getting played. It is getting played through a loudspeaker into the ear. Okay. So now lot of challenges are going to be there. In this case, we will look into some of the challenges and also see how signal processing could actually help in reducing these difficulties. Okay, so that is what we are going to look at. So this is a typical block diagram of a hearing aid. So what it contains, it has, so this is the diagram of a hearing aid. It's an old type of hearing aid which we call the behind the ear, BTE hearing aid. Okay, so this is called behind the ear hearing aid, where your module is behind the ear, like in this case. Okay, it is behind the ear. This is required when somebody has a severe hearing loss, because you need a higher processing capability or higher battery power is needed. So we go for a behind the ear hearing aid. There are other type of hearing aids like in the canal, in the ear. Okay, like that, lot of different type of smaller hearing aids are also there. Okay, but in this talk we are looking at behind the ear hearing aid, which is the oldest, one of the oldest type of forms, and which is still common. So what happens over here is that I have a microphone somewhere I have a microphone. Suppose that microphone is, what is the purpose of that microphone? The purpose of this microphone is to pick up whatever somebody is speaking in front of you. See, the main task and the main challenge of a hearing impaired person is about understanding speech. So the main objective is to communicate. That is the most critical purpose of a hearing aid. So I am trying to understand what somebody who is standing in front of me or sitting in front of me is trying to speak. That is my primary objective. So I will definitely need a microphone to pick up whatever is the sound which is going to come from the outside. So when I am going to amplify the sound, in addition to the speech signal which is over there, whatever background noise is there, background noise could be a fan noise or some other noise, which is also present in the signal or which is also picked up by the microphone, that will also be amplified. So if I don't do a reduction of noise before I do an amplification or before I play it back through the speaker, we will have a serious problem. So what we need to do is we will need some algorithmic approach for reducing noise. So noise reduction is one of the critical elements which is required in a digital hearing aid. Okay, so how will I do noise reduction? I will need to do some signal processing on top of it. So this is one important block which is going to be there in a typical hearing aid, in a digital hearing aid, in a modern digital hearing aid. Okay, so I need what? I need an algorithmic effort to reduce or suppress noise which is being picked up by the microphone to make sure that my listener is listening to a significantly better quality of speech than if I just do an amplification. So you can actually get a hearing aid, normal hearing aid for even 300 rupees. 300 rupee hearing aid will not do any of those things. They will just amplify and just forget. It's mostly like a hearing amplifier. It's not a hearing aid. Okay, it's not a digital hearing. It's not a digital hearing. Okay, so in these type of hearing aid, this may cost maybe 40,000, 50,000, 1 lakh and above. So that is the type of price we are looking at in modern digital hearing aid. Means this is the price range which we are looking at. Okay, and that is very common in the market also. Okay, so what we have understood is that in a digital hearing aid, in addition to the mic and the speaker or multiple microphones and the speaker, I will need some algorithm for reducing the noise or for noise reduction. Okay, are clear? Okay, if any doubt you can send in chat also, I can see that. Okay, fine. Then second, what we want to understand is another critical problem in a digital hearing aid or any hearing aid. So what happens is you have a microphone, you have a speaker, and these are very close to each other. So your microphone is somewhere over here and you are getting this, the amplified sound is getting played somewhere over here. So what happens? Because whenever you are in a class or somewhere and you are speaking over a mic and you move towards or close to the loudspeaker, what will happen? You will have feedback. Feedback in the sense you have a mic, then you have an amplifier and you have a speaker. Your speaker sound will be picked up by the microphone. So your speaker sound will be picked up by the microphone. So when your speaker sound is picked up by the microphone, what will happen? The sound which is picked up by the microphone is an amplified version of the original sound which I played. So that will again get amplified and you will reach a saturation type of situation in the amplification and you will hear this beep sound which we normally hear. So what we typically do when we hear this beep sound, we go and reduce the amplification. That is what we do, correct? But in or you move away from the loudspeaker. These are the two things which we normally do. Normally what we do, either we move the mic away from the loudspeaker or we try to reduce the amplification which is given so that this feedback could be avoided. But in a hearing aid, these two things cannot be done. Why it cannot be done? The moment I reduce the amplification, I am not able to hear because I need amplification because I am a person with hearing loss. So I will need to have that amplification. So amplification cannot be reduced. Second is I cannot move away the loudspeaker and the microphone. That also cannot be moved away because the moment you start moving it away, uh, there are other issues which are going to come. Okay, there is one major issue which will come is directionality. Directionality is we need to also, the person who is listening should also need to identify from which direction the sound is going to come. So for directionality, your microphone must be placed as close as possible to the ear. See, one may say that you keep a microphone in your pocket. You can get some amplification, but that is not what an user would want to listen to. Why? Because you are going to miss out on directional cues, because we want people to understand that sound is coming from a particular direction. Okay, that is also another important thing which we need to keep in mind. One is directionality and another is how speech is intelligible, those type of things. Okay, so we have the problem of acoustic feedback. So I could also develop a signal processing solution to this through something called a feedback canceller. Okay, so what is this feedback canceller trying to do? Without reducing the amplification, without changing the position of loudspeaker and microphone, I do a signal processing algorithm on top of these signals and see if I can reduce acoustic feedback. The issue of acoustic feedback can be reduced. It is a very serious problem faced by anybody who is using hearing aid or anybody who has used hearing aid. Even when you keep your hand near the hearing aid, feedback will happen. Even when you try to keep a mobile phone near your hearing aid, feedback will happen. It's a very annoying sound because you have that whistle sound, you're already annoyed, and now it is also getting amplified. So the second thing which we will look into is feedback cancellation. So signal processing is coming in noise reduction, signal processing is coming in feedback cancellation. Another thing which could come into hearing aid and we will come soon is active noise control. So active noise control. So this is similar to what we see in an ANC headphone, like Bose type of headphones, where we have ANC, active noise cancellation, where what we will actually try to do is, can I suppress the background noise in the acoustic domain itself so that I can give a better experience to the user. So one example is, so in this diagram, what we have mentioned is, so we have a speaker. From the speaker, it will be amplified and it will be sent to the loudspeaker. But there will always be a sound which is going directly into the ear, which is called the leakage. So I could implement an active noise cancellation to see I can reduce this leakage so that my user will get a better experience. Okay, so a third signal processing operation which I could bring in is active noise cancellation. Okay, and one thing which you have to remember is, this is not only in hearing aids, it could also be in hearables. Hearables is Apple AirPods type of devices or any truly wireless headphone which is going to come over now, which is becoming very popular. Every day one new hearables will be released. So I could bring in many of the ideas from hearing aid, and I could even have a hearable as a possible hearing aid in the near future. Okay, so you don't need a hearing aid because people are not willing to put a hearing aid because of social stigma. Because you have a you can't see properly. You put a spectacle, nobody will bother. You have a hearing problem. You put a hearing aid, people are worried. So the problem is, if somebody who has a hearing loss does not use a hearing aid, what is going to happen is the hearing problem is going to only increase. It is not going to go. Okay, so delaying use of a hearing aid is again a problematic area. So we will need to see, can I have better devices which is more like a fashion statement and could also help me in hearing. That is where hearables are going to be a game changer in the hearing aid domain. You can look at some of the hearables like IQ Buds. Just have a look at IQ Buds. This is a very popular uh, hearable which has capability of hearing aids, which has capability in the sense which could be optimized for hearing aid applications. Okay, fine. Clear? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Now let's look into noise reduction. I want to understand the first thing. The first thing is noise reduction and how noise can be reduced. So how noise can be reduced? Typically, if I do a normal signal processing, what happens is you have a signal, you have a noise, and the signal and the noise are mixed together, and we develop a filter which will try to recover signal. This is what we typically do in any filtering, any low pass, high pass, any normal DSP based filter. That is what we typically do. But if I want this type of a filter to be implemented, there are some requirements. What are the requirements? The signal and the noise, they have to be separated in some domain, in the time domain, in the frequency domain, or in the time frequency domain. Somewhere in one of the domains, the signal and the noise should be separated. Correct? So if you have a disturbance in your speech, so your speech is disturbed by some noise, and now if my speech spectrum is somewhere over here, noise is somewhere over here, speech is over here, noise is somewhere over here, what I could do is I could just put a low pass filter and I could get the output which is equal to a significantly good version of speech. So that is a simple solution. But in your hearing aid scenario, this is not what is going to happen. Why it is not going to happen? There is no guarantee that your speech and noise are separated in either time or frequency or in the time frequency domain. Both of them may be in the same spectral region. Okay, so you are trying to talk to somebody and both of you, everybody is in a marketplace. What is my interest in a marketplace? I met one of my friend and I want to talk to that friend. That is my interest. So the type of noise which is there in the background also includes speech signal, also include other signals which are there, and
Sir, your mic is mute.
now now it's back.
Okay.
Yeah, because another sound was coming. Yeah. So even this we cannot do because hearing aid is a very critical element for me. I may be in a danger. Somebody want to say, okay, you are in danger. So I can't even stop it. Okay, fine. So in this type of a scenario where your signal and noise are even in the same spectral range, I have to go for an adaptive signal processing approach for solving this problem. So what is the purpose of adaptive signal processing? The purpose of adaptive signal processing is to develop mechanism by which in this case I could reduce the noise, I could do a noise reduction even when my signal and noise are in the same spectral region. That is not what a typical DSP filter does. Correct? In whatever we study in a signal system or a DSP type of a course, we doesn't do like that. Okay, we will say signal is here, noise is here, you cancel. That is a very simple problem. But here we are seeing what it is not like that. Signal and noise are in the same spectral region and they may also exist during the same duration of time. If that is the case, what type of filtering will we do? Okay. That is what we are interested in. Okay, so we will just look into a little bit of basics of adaptive signal processing so that you can understand what I am trying to say with this. So adaptive signal processing becomes a fundamental technology in these type of assistive listening devices because of some of these capabilities. Okay, so we will look into it. It is not very difficult, it is simple only. Okay, so I will first give you an idea about where this adaptive signal processing, just I am taking an example so as to make you understand how adaptive signal processing can be applied into a digital hearing aid. So whenever I am dealing with algorithm development which involves physical systems in the sense, this is a physical system. I have a loudspeaker, I have a path, I have a microphone. So this is a physical system. Whenever I am dealing with algorithm development in this type of a situation, I am in a very difficult situation. Why I am in a very difficult situation is, I will explain maybe with a different example. So suppose I am going to develop an active noise cancellation headphone. So what happens in an active noise cancellation headphone is, you have a headphone. So this is the headphone. In a normal headphone, what we have? In a normal headphone, what we have is, we have a loudspeaker and you play your music from here. So this is what happens in a normal headphone. Any normal headphone is like this. In an ANC headphone, what we could do is, suppose I place a microphone outside the cup of the headphone. So what I have done, I have placed a microphone outside the cup of the headphone. So what will happen? This microphone will give me a measure of whatever is the background noise. So this microphone is not picking up the music. This microphone is picking up the background noise in the environment in which I am sitting. Then what I do is, I could add additional speakers, or in some cases use even the existing speaker, which is being controlled by a filter or a controller. So what I am saying is, so this is the direction. Okay, so I am going to have a filter which is going to control the speaker. Then another thing which I am going to do is, I am going to put a microphone inside the ear cup. So here I have some microphone is there. That information is also given to this filter. So what I am doing now, I took a normal headphone. Inside that I inserted additional microphones and speakers. This is what I have done. So this microphone, I will call it M1. The inside microphone, I will call it M2. M1 is what is called a primary microphone. M2 is called an error microphone. Okay, so this is not a primary, it's called a reference microphone. Okay, it's a reference microphone, not primary. Reference microphone. And then what I can do is, if I tell this filter to have its parameters updated. Means, typically how a filter will look like in a DSP system. What we have multipliers, we have adders, we have delays. This is what we put together to create filters. So I can have a simple filter like this. So I have delays, then I multiply them, then I add them together. with some number 2, 3, 2. Delay. This is x of n, this is y of n. So what is over here? Whatever I have got over here is an FIR filter, or is an FIR filter only. Now if I say that instead of having this constant multipliers 2, 3 and 2, I have multiplication values which are going to vary with respect to time. If I vary this with respect to time, then that filter will become an adaptive filter. So what is an adaptive filter? It is like a normal filter, FIR filter, IR filter, maybe a neural network, a filter where the multiplier values are going to be updated with respect to time based on some condition. Now suppose I update this filter in the ANC headphone in such a way that the M2 output I call E of n, that the M2 output, a function of M2 output, or maybe an E square of n, if I try to minimize, what will happen? This filter is going to change values. When the filter is going to change values, the loudspeaker, this loudspeaker over here is going to produce a different sound, and then E of n is going to again change. So now I make this filter update in such a way that E of n, or a function of n, or a E square of n is minimized. I may be able to reduce the noise which is there inside without affecting the music. That is our objective. Our objective is what? Our background noise has to be reduced, but the music should not be cancelled. Actually, that is what an ANC headphone does. ANC headphone will not cancel your music, but it will cancel the background noise which is going to come. So now if I want to implement such a system or develop that algorithm which will do this, I will have to again look at a simplified version of what we are talking over here. I will draw that simplified version over here. So what I have got over here is I have a mic M1 which is going to give a signal to this filter, and then I am going to have a loudspeaker, then I am going to have another microphone M2. I am going to use that, and then I am going to create this filter. This is the simplified block diagram of that headphone. Now if you look over here, the filter is a very simple thing. Why? Because this is the filter. I know what is x of n, I know what is y of n given the impulse response h of n of this filter, and if this filter is linear and shift invariant, I will say that the output y of n and input x of n are related through linear convolution. Okay, are related through linear convolution. Okay, so that portion there is no confusion. So I have very good idea about what will be the output of this filter, what will be the output of this filter if a particular input x of n is applied. What will be y of n? I have no confusion at all, because I know how this filter behaves, that I have studied earlier. But when I apply y of n to the speaker, y of n will produce a sound, and that sound will be picked up by M2 to give a signal E of n. I don't know how this loudspeaker, microphone and the air in between is going to behave. I have no idea, because I don't have any equation to write, because I don't know any fluid dynamics, and so I can't write any equation, so I don't know how it is going to behave. So I have reached a situation, because I am trying to develop an algorithm for a hearing aid or a hearing for a headphone, but I am unable to proceed because I don't know how the loudspeaker microphone system is going to work. Okay, so I don't know. So what I need to do is, whenever I have physical systems, in my device development process or in my algorithm development process, I have physical systems, I can't directly use the physical system in my algorithm development. So what I need to do is I need to create an equivalent of the physical system. Equivalent of the physical system means whatever is happening over there in this green region, green will come soon, green region, it has to be replaced by another FIR filter which is going to behave like that for all frequencies of our interest. What is our frequency of interest? 0 to Fs by 2 is the frequency of interest. Fs is sampling frequency. So within that entire range, whatever response the physical system is going to give, the same response I want to get from the filter, the FIR filter. If I actually get the same response from both the cases, I will say I have modeled that physical path. So once I replace this entire physical system with another filter, I know what is the relation between input and output. And then I will be able to develop a suitable algorithm. If I reach that position, then I will be able to develop a suitable algorithm. So that is why whenever you have physical systems, like in the case of loudspeaker, in the case of hearing aid, hearables, headphone, all of these cases, when you are stuck with a physical system, what we will now do is what is called the modeling. So I have to do a modeling of that path. So to do a modeling of the path, what I will typically do is I generate an input signal x of n. This is a random signal, maybe uniformly distributed in -1 to 1 range amplitude. I apply a random input to this physical system. So what will happen? A random input x of n is applied. It will pass through the loudspeaker. It will pass through the air, and the mic will pick some output, and you get some output B. And then what I do, I take a model which is an FIR filter. What is this model? This model is an FIR filter. Okay, this is a FIR filter. Okay, so this is a FIR filter, and then what I do, instead of having multipliers 2, 3, 2, I take 0, 0, 0 as the multiplier value. Zero, zero, zero as the multiplier value. Okay, and then I get an output y, and then I find out when I applied that particular input x, what output the physical system gave, which is equal to d of n, and what output the filter, the model gave, which is equal to y of n, and then find the difference between them, which is equal to the error signal e of n. Okay, now if I create an algorithm which will try to update the filter weights. Filter weights in the sense, initially we started with 0, 0, 0. It need not be 3 multiplier, it can be 100 multipliers also. So whatever vector is there, which we call the weight vector. Okay, whatever vector is there over here, if we can change the multiplier values and see what happens to E. So suppose I can achieve an E of n which is 0 for all frequencies. What I can say, I have now created a good model of this physical system. A good model of this physical system. Understood? So in an algorithm development for these type of physical system, this is the very critical step where I will do a modeling. Okay, fine. So then what I do is, this is what I typically do. This is the adaptive FIR filter which I discussed little bit just before 2 minutes. Okay, This is the FIR filter. This is the same figure which we had in the previous slide. I say E is equal to D minus Y. This we already saw. And then Y, which is equal to output of the model, is equal to, this is Y and this is equal to X. And what is that? Y is equal to A transpose X. What is A transpose X? A is the multiplier values you are seeing over here. So there are 3 multiplier values or n multiplier values are there, and that together will call the A vector. And X is whatever values you see in this shift register. So you have a set of delays. So it's like you have a set of shift registers. That is the X vector. So X vector is what? X vector is the tab delayed input vector, and A vector is the adaptive wait vector. Okay, so 2 vectors are there. If I take the product and then add them together, that is what is going to be your output. Okay, now what happens is, okay, this is what we saw. E is there, Y is there. Now what I do is I define a cost function. Okay, like what we do in a neural network type of system. Okay, so I have a cost function. What is that cost function? It is a function of the error signal. And in this case, I have taken that function of error signal as expectation of E square of n. So what I have done, I am saying the cost function which we are looking at is the expectation of E square of n. Where is this expectation coming from? Because I said the input which I am going to apply over here is random input. So we are all dealing with random inputs and random numbers over here, random variables. So I have an input x of n which is random. So if I give a random input, the output of the system will be random. Okay. So and this is what I am trying to look at. Then what I do is I try to find the expectation of E square of n. What is E of n? D minus y. It is very simple only. Okay, if there is any doubt, you can ask. Once I reach the final line, I will come back. Okay, this is very simple only. And this is the basis for doing adaptive filtering. This 2 slides from this and next is the only thing which we have to understand in adaptive signal processing. Okay, so what happens over here? You have a cost function which is equal to expectation of E square of n. So I take equation 3 and then I only take the square. So I only took d square minus this. And then in the next line, wherever y is there, okay, I substitute it with equation 4. So I get this equation. Okay. Then what I do is you open the expectation operator and go inside. So instead of having the second line, you have expectation of d square, expectation of something else, expectation of something else. Okay. And then the weight value is not a random variable. Why? Because weight we are going to determine based on some algorithm. It is not a random variable. So there is no expectation over here. Okay. And for a given weight value, for a given particular weight value, I have this cost function as this, where I have 2 terms P and R. P is something called, if you don't understand also it's okay, no problem, but don't give up now. Okay, so what is P? P is a term which I took from here and I replaced it over here. R is a term which I took from here and I replaced it over here. And P is something called the cross correlation vector. This is the most critical term which we have to remember. Is called cross correlation vector. What is cross correlation vector? How correlated is X and D? How correlated is X and D? What is how correlated is X and D? Means this is X is the input which is applied and D is the output I am getting from the system. The entire D is generated from X in this example. So D is correlated with X. How correlated? How related is X and D? is called the correlation. Okay. So one of the important things which you have seen over here is I have a cost function which is dependent on P, which is called the cross correlation vector, and second one is called an autocorrelation matrix, that is a, let it be there. Now if you look at this cost function is a quadratic function in terms of a square plus a plus something. Okay. So suppose I have only two multiplier values. Suppose my filter is like this, a0 a1. Then in the a0 a1 plane, in the sense this is a0, this is a1. This cost function is a paraboloid. This cost function is what? Is a paraboloid. That is what equation 6 is telling. What it is telling me? This cost function is a paraboloid. And then because it is a paraboloid, I have one minimum value only. Okay. So whichever value of a0 and a1 which will give me the minimum value of this cost function is the optimal value which we can get. Is the optimal value of weight which I can get, means that is the best possible weight value which I can get. How will I find the best possible weight value? So it is a minimization problem. And what I could do? I could take the derivative of 6 with respect to a and put it equal to 0. Understood? So when I do that, I will get a weight value which is equal to R inverse P, which is equal to R inverse P. So what I have got? I have got an optimal weight value which is equal to R inverse P. Even now we don't have to give up. There is something called R inverse P. The most critical element is not this. We will have to understand it a little bit better. So what I am saying now finally, after doing all of this math, that the weight value, the optimal weight value is equal to R inverse P, or optimal weight value is dependent on the correlation between X and D. Okay. Now suppose there is some disturbance in between the path, and whatever signal is getting generated from X is not reaching the microphone, and whatever this microphone is picking up is some other noise. Is what? Is some other noise. Okay. So if you look at D of n, now D of n contains what? No component due to X and some component due to noise. Okay. Earlier what was happening? There was no noise over here, and whatever signal was there in D of n, whatever component was there in D of n was all created due to X of n, was all created due to X of n. Okay. But now what has happened? Because X of n is not creating any impact on the microphone, whatever signal is being you get out of the microphone has nothing to do with X of n, or they are uncorrelated. When they are uncorrelated, P will become 0, because what is P? P means the correlation between X and D. The correlation between X and D is now 0. So as per the solution which we wrote, R inverse P, which is called the Wiener solution, the weight values or the FIR filter values which I am going to get will be equal to 0, 0, 0 only, or no learning has happened. Okay, no learning has happened. And because no learning has happened, what is going to happen? Y of n will always remain 0. Correct? Because the multiplier values are all zeros. Or the error will always settle to D, or error will always settle to noise. The error is going to settle to noise. Okay. So what has happened is, after I do the best possible learning by this type of a mechanism, or by reducing that cost function, what is left behind in the error signal is the signal component which is uncorrelated with the input, And now suppose this path is not that fully blocked. There is some component of x coming in the output. So this mic d of n is now some value of x of n plus noise. Okay, some value of x of n plus noise. It is not exactly x of n, some value of x of n plus noise. Now what will happen? As per the algorithm, only those components which are there, which is correlated with x, can be learned. Other thing cannot be learned. So after you do learning, this x of n component in E will vanish because that can be learned by the model. The model will try to slightly grow. Instead of 0, 0, 0, it will be some other number. It will try to slightly get adapted. And once it is getting adapted, what is going to happen? Some of the components in that D, which is correlated with x, will get subtracted, and finally you end up with noise. This is the major idea. What is the major idea? Major idea is an adaptive filter can learn only signal components in the error which are correlated with its input. Only that can be learned. Other thing cannot be learned. This is going to be the main thing which we have to understand. So let me give you a different example and then we will be able to understand it better. Suppose I have a mobile phone. You have your mobile phone over here. And the mobile phone has a microphone over here, which I call M1. And I am a speaker. I am going to speak. So microphone M1 is picking up what I am speaking. M1 is what I am speaking. Plus whatever noise is there in the background. So there is so much of noise in the background because you are trying to speak in a market. So the noise is there. So this noise is also picked up by this microphone. So the output of microphone 1 is speech plus noise. Now suppose I add a secondary microphone, new microphone behind my phone, which I call M2. Suppose I add a different second microphone to the phone, which is equal to M2. So what will M2 contain? M2 contain this noise will be picked up, a version of the noise which I call N1. This noise and the other noise are not same because these two microphones are at two different locations. Okay, because these two microphones are at two different locations, these two noises are not same, but they are correlated. What I am saying is the noise which is present in M1 and noise which is present in M2, they are not the same. Why it is not the same? Because the location is not the same, so they are not going to be same, but they are correlated in the sense both of them were generated from the same noise. So suppose I create a mechanism like this where I have M1, there I have M2, and M2 output I pass through an adaptive filter, and then I subtract it from M1 output to get a signal E of n, and then I use that signal to update the FIR filter. Okay, means update FIR filter in the sense you tell the FIR filter that you start learning and try to minimize expectation of E square. Okay, you try to do that. If you try to do that, what will happen when the filter is fully updated? Okay, when the learning is complete, what is going to happen? E of n will initially contain what? E of n, if suppose FIR filter is all zero values, suppose. Okay, so my Y of n is all zero, D of n is signal plus noise. So initially my E of n will be equal to D of n, which is equal to signal plus noise. Now, once I start updating as per this setup, what is going to happen? If from the EFN component, whatever is the noise component is going to tend towards zero or going to get reduced, because that is what we have learned theoretically, that an adaptive filter can learn only signals components in the error which are correlated with its input. Its input is what? N1. N1 and N are correlated. So N1 and N are correlated. And because they are correlated, N1 and N are correlated. Because they are correlated, those correlated components will get reduced and you will get a significant speech. Okay, this is the idea of noise reduction. This is the fundamental idea of noise reduction, where my noise and signal both may be in the same spectral range. Even when they are in the same spectral range, by using the principles of correlation which we have understood, okay, we are able to reduce noise and we are able to improve the signal. Understood? This is the basics of it. Understood? Okay. This is clear? Any doubt? Okay, fine. Then what happens is, the problem of this Wiener solution is that I need to know P and R. So in a practical situation, you are going to continuously speak and you are going to have continuously new different type of noises going to be there. So you may not be able to estimate P and R beforehand. You may not be able to estimate P and R beforehand. Okay, because you are not able to estimate P and R beforehand, you will not be able to find a Wiener solution. So what I could do is, in that case, is I could start with a random value of weight somewhere on the surface. So I start from a random point on this paraboloid, and then I do a gradient descent learning. So what we do in gradient descent learning, we try to move in the negative direction of the slope. So we go to the next position. Again we try to move in the negative direction of the slope. Again up to here we moved, and then when I reach over here, I understand that the slope is positive, so I go in the other direction and then I try to settle at the bottom. Okay, then I try to settle at the bottom. Okay, so this is what we do in a gradient descent approach. So in a gradient descent, what I will do, I update my weight values in such a way so as to go in the negative direction of the grade of the slope. Okay, when I do that, what I can get is, I can get an online algorithm for updating the weights. Instead of using the Wiener solution of R inverse P, I could start with a random value of A or a value which is equal to a zero vector, and then I use this update rule which is given in equation 12 to update the parameters of A or update the parameter vector continuously, and we call this the least mean square algorithm. Okay, so what happens is, when I try to plot n versus e square, so what will happen, initially error will be very high, then the error will reduce and it will settle to some value. Where it will settle? It will settle to the uncorrelated component. In whatever learning we are doing, where it will settle to the uncorrelated component, or it will settle to the noise floor. Means whatever is the noise, if suppose I have an SNR of 30 dB, then this my noise floor here, it will be minus 30 dB is the best possible learning I can do. Why? Because I can learn only correlated component. I cannot learn uncorrelated components. Understood? So this is the idea which we are actually putting in the noise reduction. One of the mechanisms or the basic structure of adaptive filtering which we could use in noise reduction. Another thing which we could also look at is the second problem. What is the second problem? The second problem was you have a microphone of the hearing aid, you have a loudspeaker of the hearing aid, and these two are very close to each other. Because they are very close to each other, what will happen? There will be an acoustic feedback or whatever amplified sound. So you have a desired signal which is some speech. Okay, so that is speech is there, the speech is getting amplified and it is getting played. Whatever amplified sound is getting played by the speaker, in addition to going to the ear of the person, so it is going to the ear of the wearer, the sound will be fed back to the microphone. So next time in the next loop, what will happen? In addition to the speech signal, original new speech signal which is there, the amplified version of the previous speech. So when I say hello, the H is amplified and fed back and maybe added with E, the new E which is going to come, and it is going to saturate. Now, can I use an adaptive filter to reduce this feedback without reducing the gain or without separating the microphone and the speaker? Okay, so I can't separate microphone speaker, I can reduce gain. So what I can try to do is, here if you look over here, I am trying to see that I take a signal from before the loudspeaker and try to subtract a version of it from the signal plus feedback. So I have signal plus feedback, and then this adaptive filter is trained using the amplified version, okay, which is going to be fed back later. And then I try to reduce the F component so that the output will significantly contain S component. Okay, but this is not an easy problem like the noise reduction case because of some again correlated relation issues. What is the correlated related issues? I am giving a hello from here. This output is also the same hello. So there is a significant correlation between these two signals that will actually create issues, and there are some mechanisms by which we could reduce the correlation and make the filter work. Okay, so we do something called, in some cases we do something called frequency shifting. Okay, and another one is called prediction error method. So there are several mechanisms by which I can reduce this correlation and make this feedback canceller work. Okay, understood. So the main idea is about how signals are correlated and how that could be used to solve this problem. Okay, so we can also look at multi-microphone hearing aids. Okay, so in multi-microphone hearing aid, what we do is we instead of having one microphone, we have multiple microphones. One microphone may be near the ear, one may be behind the ear, and I could create a mechanism to improve the feedback cancellation by having a hardware change. So earlier we did not do any hardware change. We used the typical hearing aid which has one microphone, one loudspeaker and one processor, and then try to develop an algorithm which will help in the feedback cancellation. In this case, what we are looking at is a multi-microphone hearing aid where we could look at two microphones and see if I can improve the feedback cancellation. So now the question is, suppose I implement this algorithm and create a hearing aid. How will I know whether your hearing aid or your hearable is working or not? Okay, whether it is able to do cancellation or not. So I need to measure what I would have heard if it was put on my ear, that I need to measure that. So what we do is we use this head. This is actually a microphone which is called a dummy head microphone. So essentially this has two artificial ears and you have maybe a something like a microphone inside. But why this is critical is here you have a head also in between. So you have created a shadow between these two ears. Okay. And we can actually measure how much is the speech which is going to be finally reaching the ear of the person after doing all of these algorithms. Okay. So this is how we typically do the measurement of how effective is your algorithm. Suppose we develop a new algorithm. If I want to implement and check it, I will have to check it on a dummy head. Okay, fine. Now let's also look at active noise control. So active noise control, I think I have already explained a little bit. If you want to get an intuitive feeling of it, you can just Google for U-card unring a bell and G unimpossible. Just Google for it. You will get a YouTube video on a very practical demonstration of an ANC. Okay, so that you can understand what is actually happening over here. What is our objective in our problem statement? Our problem statement is I may be able to bring active noise control in a hearing aid to improve my user experience or improve speech intelligibility in my user. Okay, whether my user is able to listen to my speech better or not. Okay, and typically if you see literature, we use this measure called PESQ. If you look for paper on hearing aids, you will see this measure called PESQ. This is called perceptual evaluation of speech quality. So this is a measure which is between 0.5 and 4.5. If my score is 4.5, means it is the best possible speech I can get, and I use DCFS score to quantify whether a given proposed algorithm is better than another existing algorithm or not. So if an existing algorithm is giving me 3.7, if I am getting 4.1 PSQ, so I have made a significant improvement in terms of speech quality. Okay, or my user will be able to understand and speak and maybe communicate in a better manner if I have this type of a PSQ. Okay, fine. Now this I have already explained, and you will see this in headphones. Even the new Apple AirPods Max has a significantly good ANC with several microphones and several other algorithms running on top of it. Okay, so these are some of the applications where ANC is come, and hearing aid is just the next thing which is going to be having an ANC. Okay, and you will also see that in a Ford Endeavour. So in Ford Endeavour, what they do is, again, they want to reduce the cabin noise, or they want to reduce the noise near the headrest of the user. So I don't need to reduce noise anywhere else. Wherever is the headrest of the user, that is where we want to reduce the background noise. Background noise in this case is engine noise mainly. And when it comes to an electric car, it will become a road noise. Okay, so what I can do, I am going to have additional speakers, new speakers, and I am going to have microphones to measure what is the sound level near the headrest. Okay, so what I am going to have, I am going to have new speakers which are going to produce the new signal or anti-noise we call, and we also will have microphones to see how much sound has been cancelled, and then you need a processor which we call the control module. So you will have a processor which is going to drive the speaker in such a way that the engine noise which is there near your headrest is going to be reduced. Again, using principles of adaptive signal processing. Okay, adaptive signal processing is the base for all of these things which is going to be happening. So let me explain and give a very simple example of how algorithm we could develop for an ANC. Okay, so if I want to implement ANC, it is essentially you have a hardware change first because you need additional microphones and speakers. Second is you will need an algorithm developer. So I can just quickly give you an idea about how we could develop algorithms in this scenario. Okay. Yeah, I think some mic is on. Can you just mute, please? Yeah, thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah. So I think this is also another opportunity to tell about this. Okay. So when we use Zoom or when we use Microsoft Team or when we use Google Meet, what difference is there? What is the major difference? So your audio video quality looks very similar, but in terms of audio quality, there is a significant difference. What is that significant difference? If you use Zoom, you have a significantly better noise reduction, correct? You feel the audio quality to be higher, better compared to even Microsoft Team. So what is the kingmaker there? The kingmaker there is an algorithm. Okay, the kingmaker there is just a noise reduction algorithm which has been implemented, which will actually make your product even better compared to other products which are there in the market. Okay, the fundamental principle is again adaptive signal processing. Okay, but now it could be a machine learning approach also. Okay, it could be a machine learning approach, but even the fundamental principle of that is same, like Wiener solution, correlation. That is the fundamental basis for all of those things. Okay, fine. Now let's quickly see how we could develop an algorithm in the case of an ANC system. So what I have is I have a noise source, and my noise is passing through a duct and is reaching inside of my room. And what I want is I want to create a low noise region where the noise is low, like in the case of the quadrant. So what I will do, I will have a microphone which I call the reference microphone, which is placed near the noise source. So what I have to do, whichever is the noise near the source of the noise, put a mic. Near the low noise region, put a second mic, which is called the error mic. Then I have a loudspeaker, okay, which is called the active loudspeaker. And then what I do, I am going to update this value such that E square of n is minimized. Now when I try to do it, what will happen? The speaker is going to create a new sound which is going to be picked up by the error microphone. So the final sound which the error microphone is going to pick is equal to what? Is equal to the sound which is passing from the outside and coming near the error microphone, and the anti-noise which has been produced by the speaker. These two together is getting picked by the error microphone. Now, when I try to reduce E square of n, based on whatever we have understood till now, what component in E square of n will reduce? Whatever component is there, which is correlated with the input of the adaptive filter. What is the signal component which is correlated with the input of the adaptive filter? X of n. Okay, so whatever noise was coming from the outside, this new setup will actually try to reduce the noise, and we can have a noise reduction. But now if I want to develop the algorithm, what are the challenges? First challenge is you have a physical system. So this is a physical system. So I need to make a model of it. So I make a model of it. Once I make a model of it, I get a block diagram like this. What is this block diagram? This is your adaptive FAR filter, which is your controller. Then S of Z is a model of this red color path. That path we call the secondary path. Okay, so we have this path which is called the secondary path, and which has been modeled like what we discussed earlier. We create an FAR filter equivalent of this physical path, we make it, and then we create this block called SOPs. Similarly, there is a path from here to here, which we call the primary path. Wherever physical system is there, what we have to do? We have to make a model. So we have a second model which we call the primary path. And now if you look at this diagram, this entire diagram is in the electronic domain now. Earlier my entire diagram was not in the electronic domain. My diagram contained some physical systems, some controller, but now I have converted the entire thing. You see, if you see the earlier diagram, I have an acoustic domain and I have an electronic domain. These two domains were there. And now what has happened? I have converted whatever was there in the acoustic domain to also filters by using modeling. Okay, so I created this diagram. Now I can very clearly write what is E of n. What is E of n? E of n is Y of n convolution S of n. Why it is like that? Because, sorry, not Y, E of n, Ys of n. What is Ys of n? This. Ys of n is the output of the secondary path, which is equal to what? The input Y convolved with the impulse response of S of Z, which is equal to S of n. Okay, so now I have a very good relation between Y and S. Then I can write E of n is equal to D of n minus Ys of n. And then if I try to minimize E square of n using a gradient descent approach, okay, using a gradient descent approach, what is going to happen is I am going to get an update rule, which is very similar to the update rule which I have got earlier with x replaced by x dash. So this dash is the only difference which is over there, which is actually the x signal which has been filtered through a model of the secondary path. Okay, and we call this the FX LMS algorithm or the filtered x least mean square algorithm. Okay, so whenever you look at ANC literature, you will hear this term called FX LMS algorithm. So FX LMS algorithm is a very commonly used algorithm for active noise control, and it is going to come in hearing aid. It is already coming in hearing aid. Okay, so these are some of the signal processing aspects of hearing aid. One very good reference is this 2008 book by Gates, which has some idea, but the problem with this area is this area grows very fast. So it's mostly advisable to look at research papers to understand what is the latest going on in this area, because there is a lot of industry work which is going on, and then academia work is also there. So advancement will be very fast in this area, and there is a huge market also for this area. Okay, and for fundamentals of adaptive filtering, you can look at this book by Dennis. Adaptive filtering 2020 edition is there on adaptive filtering by Dennis. And for normal DSP, if you want to just read it just for the sake of reading without only looking at math and solving problem, you can look at this book by Lyons, Understanding Digital Signal Processing by Richard Lyons. Okay, so these are some of the books which are there which you could refer to. Okay, any doubt? Yeah, if anybody has any doubt, you can send in chat also.
Sir, may I
Yes, yes.
audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
I have one question, but that is
Yes.
not related to device. Actually, for related to signal processing.
Yes, yes.
So,
Ask.
can you tell me any method that mean sometime it is not possible for everyone to purchase a data acquisition card for
Yes, yes.
processing this signal or algorithm in MATLAB or maybe because we need the data. So is
Correct.
it possible to take the data by using the computer audio jack? I think that one command is there, win sound in MATLAB.
Yes.
So through the win sound we can take the data or we can collect the data from audio input of any PC or computer, but
Yes.
will it be suitable
Okay. So it depends on what you
for
want to
processing
do.
the algorithm?
So if this is an offline application where you want to record and then process, there is no problem. But if it is an online application, this is an online application, no? Hearing aid, because you have an input, you process it, and then you throw it back to the loudspeaker. Then you will have this problem of latency, because whenever you look at this thing, no, the main problem will be latency. Latency will be how fast your processor or your device or interface is able to get the data, process it, and give it back. So if it is an offline application where you only want to record and process, there is no problem. Actually, you can use your system
Yeah.
uh, system sound card to do the recording. There is no problem as such.
Sir, I want to suggest
Or you can also look at, instead of buying a complicated interface, you can look at simple audio interfaces are there, no? Like 3 channel, 4 channel type of audio interfaces. Okay,
audio
which can
interface.
also be audio interface. So audio interface can, in 5,000 rupee also you can get an audio interface. This M Audio, Presonus. Just check for, in Amazon you will get
No,
M Audio.
sir, I want to know that the device is really nice. What you have discussed. I want to know that if I take that data by using that win sound, so validity of that
Data is valid only. There is no problem of validity. Recording, there is no problem.
whatever then whatever you told we will have try to apply, but data will be collected and algorithm will be generated in MATLAB. Then we will
Yes,
follow your process. So that
correct.
data will be validated here or
That
not
data
in
is
sound card.
that data is valid only. That data is valid only. There is no
Validated.
problem in
Then we
using the
can take
sound
the
card.
sound card.
You
Okay,
can use
sir.
the sound
Thank you.
card
Thank
because
you,
your
sir.
application is an offline application. So there is no
Okay, sir.
problem.
Okay, sir.
But the moment you come to an online application, you will be in big trouble because you will not be able to get the data and throw the data out within the available time. Okay. So you
We
need
will
to
use that algorithm in your device, sir. Whatever you told. We will just
okay,
generate the
fine.
algorithm just to run the algorithm, not more
Yes,
than
yes. For running the
that.
algorithm, that is not a problem. And it is also
Therefore,
advisable to use existing databases. So there is no need to generate new data. So this
mhm.
Noises database, NOISEDUS, Noises, have a look at that database. It has a good collection of speech and noises. Hmm? So
Okay,
that
sir.
can be used in algorithm development. So you don't
Oh,
need to worry about even generating your data.
thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
If anyone have question, they can write it on a chat box or
Yeah.
can directly ask us, sir.
Yeah.
Anyone have question? Any question you can ask?
Hello.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. How we are localizing the sound means with respect to the direction and what consideration we have to be
Correct.
while designing the hearing aids.
Absolutely. Hearing aid, the problem is directivity will come only when you use 2 ears. Okay. So the problem, I think, okay. See, the advantage is now you are having a device which has a microphone near your ear only. So the directionality which was already there due to the ear and the pinna has already been handled over there. So there is no need to have a new directionality mechanism implemented to get directionality. But the moment you move your microphone away from your pinna, then you lose directionality. Suppose our ears were where our eyes are currently, suppose. We will lose directionality. Why? Because both the ears will actually receive almost similar type of sound and you will lose the directionality. So you are able to identify that the sound is coming from left or right because you have a head in between now. So the head is like the opaque thing which will make sure that your left ear and the right ear receives two different sounds. Even from when you say hello, your left and right ear are getting two different sounds, and then you can bring in the directionality. But having said that, we can also bring in array of microphones in hearing aids to improve directionality if needed. Okay, but the problem is the available space is limited to have microphones separated in space, because if you want to bring in microphone array and directionality, you need microphones which are separated in space. That is a little bit tricky thing to do. Okay. Fine.
Yeah, and second thing, sir,
Yes.
how we can decide that whether this implant should be placed in the right ear or the left ear, and as per the requirement of the subject, and how we are measuring the various parameter related to the put this.
Correct. So first we have to get the audiogram. Okay. So in audiogram, normally they do something called pure tone audiometry if you go to any audiologist. And they measure both the ears, left and the right. And there will be two audio curves for every ear. One is the bone conducted sound and another is the air conducted sound. And depending on where loss is, we have to put the hearing aid. But the main thing is, ideally you should put hearing aid in both the ears, even if you have a hearing problem in only one ear. That is what is advised. Because if you start using hearing aid only in one ear, the other ear will anyway go. So that's why it is advisable to have hearing aids in both the ears to start with itself. Okay, so that's how we decide. And your algorithm or the frequency response of your hearing aid on the left and the right are going to be different, and it is going to be personalized. So every person will have a different curve. So that's why you can't just go and buy a hearing aid and put it, because you need a first do a testing, get an audiogram, then create a fitting to match the requirements, and then make the hearing aid work.
So if we are exchanging from the right ear to left ear, whatever the design we have made, so definitely the person will be facing the difference in that.
Definitely, if there is, because typically, if you do your audiogram also, one ear will have a significant problem, okay, and other ear may not have that much problem. So if you shift it, no, you have put a different transfer function to compensate for a different loss.
And sir, at the last, I have one more query.
Yeah. Yes.
There is any study with respect to the hearing aid, how the walking pattern of the subject are changing? Because maybe the whatever the neurological feedback inside how the signal are moving, it is also generating that kind of effect. So there is any study or what?
There is a study
Yes,
on even ANC and gait pattern. Okay, so there are studies on that where people have even found that the moment you even use an ANC headphone, your walking pattern is going to change, because you are not getting the feedback, the acoustic feedback of the tapping of the of your feet. Okay, So there are some studies like that in psychoacoustics. There are studies like that. Hearing aid and walking, I have not seen, I have not looked at it, but this ANC and walking I have seen. But I think that's a good area to look at.
Yes, yes. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Really, we enjoy
Yes,
our presentation.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, can I ask one question because related to the previous, that one question has came
Yes,
in my
yes.
mind,
Yeah.
and that is that, sir, in audiometry, pure tone or maybe that bone conduction, uh, mm, suppose that person may that report will come from doctor that in which year it will be required, but after
Yes.
that when the patient is using that one, after
Yes.
if there is something changing, if doctor says that that parameter, the frequency response is, or from the again audiogram it has been changed, or amplification of the sound or frequency characteristics that may require to change, so is it possible to this device that change again, or that device will be lost and again the patient need to buy another device
No, you
as
don't
per
need to.
his or her
No,
requirement?
no, you don't need to buy a new device. These are reprogrammable devices, but not at the user level. But there are devices which can be programmed at the user level also. But normally, if you do this is called a fitting. So the fitting can be done if you go to a hearing aid shop. No, they can actually do a fitting for the new curve. You don't need to buy a new hearing aid. I have talked to people who have used this hearing aid for 40 years, 30 years, like that. But typically, what happens is these are all permanent hearing losses. So your loss can
Yes.
only become bad. It cannot become better. So every 2-3 years or every 2 years, we have to do a new audiogram, find the new curve, maybe
Yes, sir.
update. That updation is required. So there is lot of money which is being pushed into this domain. Means lot of money is being spent by people also, and then also people are unsatisfied because nobody is happy with the hearing aid. I have not seen anybody who is happy with the hearing aid. People are unhappy because whatever you were listening earlier, you are not able to listen properly.
Yes,
Even
sir.
now.
Okay, sir. Thank you,
Okay.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah. Anything else?
I think we have completed with the question. If still anyone having a question, you can ask, or we will end the session. So before ending the session, I must say, sir, this is a very good start for the day. Such an in-depth session you have delivered, and you have discussed all aspects about the hardware, the mathematical modeling behind it. Sir, it was really a very interactive session so far. I must say, sir. Apart
Thank
from
you.
whatever you have present today, I
Yeah.
have a question regarding one of your project which is listed on your web
Yeah.
page, sir. It is a development of low cost intelligent headphone for improving social interaction of children with autism. So,
Yeah.
a question arise in my mind, sir. Autistic children have the difficulty, or we can say inability, to communicate and interact. So
Yeah.
how this headphone or some kind of a earphone will
Mm.
help them to interact with the people?
Yes. So there the problem was there is this auditory hypersensitivity in children with autism, because children with autism can be very sensitive to sound. Like if you switch on a flash or you switch a mixie or some other sound, no, the type of sensitivity is very high, and that can have difficulty in even concentrating to normal sounds, because you are getting trained to get distracted by the sound, so you just want to you are getting fed up with whatever sounds are around. But now if you have a device which will reduce this background noise like in an ANC system, now the hypersensitivity issue has been, it is almost the opposite of hearing aid, where we try to reduce some of the sounds which are there in the background, so that the vocal communication or other things, or the learning which could have happened vocally, can be improved. So that was the main idea, and it has been done on real people in Ahmedabad only. and we even did a workshop somewhere in 2015, giving awareness to people on these type of possibilities are there, and people have seen improvement by using only commercial ANC headphones. The another thing which has worked is we have tried with a normal in-ear type of ANC headphone and a headphone which was like a normal Bose type of headphone. The kid was more happy with the Bose type of headphone because you are feeling like a Superman type of situation because everybody is normal and I have this. So that actually worked. So that was what was done in that project. So that was not a hearing aid. It was mostly about looking at feasibility of ANC as a possible solution to, not a possible solution, as a, it is a very tricky thing to do with children, but there are evidences that it can work, and in some cases it will be useful.
So I really thankful to you, sir. On behalf of my department, I am give a thank to you for sparing your valuable time for this session. It was really
Okay.
a interactive session, and we hope for the in the future also we will in contact with you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so I think we are ending this session. So the participants are requested to leave, and we will meet at 1:30 for the next session.
Okay, sir.